Hey, it's Throwback Thursday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's David Wilson. I'm Maurice Patton. We'll be here for the next couple of hours talking local, regional, and national sports content. And it is not just Throwback Thursday, but it is Championship Thursday. We will talk a little bit more about that and kind of bring you up to speed if you don't already know what that's about here pretty soon. David, good afternoon.
What's up, Mo? How we doing?
We're doing well, man. Like I said, it's Championship Thursday. Everybody in Nashville should be excited about a Nashville sports first that we will be getting into as the show develops. But happy times here in town. A cup has come home, and there will be more championships to be decided here over the next bit. In the next hour, well, we're going to try this again. We attempted last week to have Nashville Cats president and partner Jeff Fisher on to talk about the team's move to Clarksville for the 2026 season. Did not quite go as we would have hoped. We're going to take another shot at Jeff here in the second hour to talk about the Cats playing their 2026 home games at F&M Bank Arena up in Clarksville. Looking forward to that. In the next segment on Coach's Corner, we'll be joined by Franklin Road Academy football coach Justin GEISINGER. The Panthers on a little bit of a roll right now. Big win this past weekend, big game coming up this coming weekend. Going to check in with him, and we will probably try to sneak in some Vanderbilt questions for the former Commodore offensive lineman as well while we've got him. We'll also be giving out our Team of the Week and Athlete of the Week awards as we typically do during the Coach's Corner segment on Throwback Thursday. We'll be talking a little baseball. There's some going on. Me and David's favorite team is not involved, but we'll probably work some conversation in on the Braves as well as this wild card action that is going on starting right now, basically. So yeah, we will get into some baseball here. We'll get into some professional football, a little college football as well. Plenty to talk about over the next couple of hours. And as David was asking me off air before we got started, I'm going from preps to pros because I've got some high school football to get to tonight. So lot of gridiron action for us here over the next bit, and it will heat up tomorrow and Saturday and Sunday. So it's that time of year.
It is. It slowly simmers, right? We get to August, we kind of take things one step at a time. We get we get girls soccer, we get volleyball, we get football going, and once that calendar turns to October, we're ready for playoffs when it comes to district and region tournaments for girls soccer and girls volleyball. I'll be at Friendship Christian tonight, as I told Mo beforehand. Good Pasture versus Friendship Christian, rematch from last year's Division II Single A District 4 championship. So my alma mater making the trip out to Lebanon, take on Friendship Christian. I'm excited for that one. So I will be neutral. I will not root for one nor the other. I'm right down the middle, Mo, as you would want me to.
Well, and here's the thing. You got to be careful because you also got to be sure you're not wearing any blue or green. Because
I'm great
folks
right
pick
now.
up
I'm
on
good.
that. You gotta watch your wardrobe here as you are getting set to go to these ball games because people will kind of get after you a little bit. But it's okay. At least they're paying attention. So
They
again,
will. They will. And just a really quick story. Last year, when I covered Springfield and Greenbrier, first game of the season in football, I wore a kind of yellowish, goldish Notre Dame shirt. Well, the Greenbrier people were all over me. He's rooting for Springfield. I was like, no, that's not the case. You can see ND on the front, and they're like, nope, it's the gold, it's the color. I was like,
Doesn't
okay,
matter.
I'll wear
Doesn't
neutral.
matter.
I'll wear neutral colors the rest of the way.
I had on an MTSU polo a few years ago for their season opener that weekend, but I was at Columbia Central in Lincoln County. Same shade of blue. Did not go well. Yeah. So yeah, you gotta really diversify your wardrobe a little bit when you're covering high school athletics. Just take note there. But at any rate, that's what we're looking at here over the next couple of hours. Let's go ahead and get into it, David, with yesterday's results and today's schedule. on the rundown.
This is the Rundown.
Ready to roll?
Go.
Yeah, got you. Last night's action. Sorry for the delay. In the TLS in girls volleyball action, it was Smyrna picking up a 3-0 sweep over Cane Ridge. And girls soccer was Fairview 6-1 winners over Battle Creek. Brentwood Academy a 5-1 victory over Kirkwood. Father Ryan shut out Oakland last night 8-0. Friendship Christian in district play in Division II Single A District 4. In their senior night, they picked up a 4-0 win over Clarksville Academy. It was Stewart's Creek picking up a big 3-0 win over Lebanon as the Redhawks stay undefeated on their season. In Major League Baseball action, we will have 3 decisive game threes this afternoon in the wild card series. Yesterday, it was Cleveland extending their season with a 6-1 win over Detroit. It was San Diego also extending their season with a 3-0 win over the Chicago Cubs. In the Bronx, it took an 8th-inning run from Jazz Chisholm on a base hit to get the Yankees off the snide and get even that series 4-3 victory for the Bronx Bombers. Then last night, the Dodgers defeated the Cincinnati Reds 8-4. The Dodgers advanced to the NLDS where they would take on the Philadelphia Phillies. Last night, we've delayed it long enough. A championship is coming home to the 615. Nashville Soccer Club picked up a 2-1 win over Austin FC in the MLS 2025 U.S. Open Cup final.
There we go. Thursday night, high school football action. We talked about at least one of those games, but Franklin is traveling across McHatcher Bypass to Centennial in the Battle of Franklin. That's a 7 o'clock start, as are all of these games. Middle Tennessee Christian goes up to Salina, taking on Clay County tonight. Kirkwood is at Laverne. Rockvale travels to Oakland. Independence is at East Brentwood against Ravenwood. Actually, I'll be over at that one, so stop by, say hi. Smyrna is at Riverdale at 7 tonight. Clarksville goes to Siegel. Blackman is at Stewart's Creek. And in the Main Street Preps game of the week, it will be East Nashville at Stratford. Wade Neely and Casey Patrick on the call for this one on Main Street Radio. Be sure and check them out. 7 o'clock start there. Volleyball action this evening, starting at 4:30 when Providence Christian Providence Christian plays Middle Tennessee Christian. Not sure where it is, but they're playing. Spring Hill is at Cascade at 5. At 5:45, it's Battleground Academy at Franklin Road Academy. Collinwood is at Hampshire at 6. Marshall County goes to Murfreesboro Central at 6. Also at 6, it's Eagleville at Siegel. Gallatin is at Beach. Columbia Central is hosting Lincoln County. Mount Pleasant goes to East Hickman. Battle Creek travels to Forest. Zion Christian is hosting Perry County at 6:15. Good Pasture is at Friendship Christian. David, what time?
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock start. Good Pasture at Friendship Christian. Also, start times undetermined or unknown to us, but Giles County travels to Community, and Lewis County is at Summertown.
Girls soccer action tonight, 4 o'clock first touch for Friendship Christian at Christian Community up in Sumner County. It's East Robertson at Allen County, Kentucky at 5 p.m. Grace Christian Franklin making the trip over to Franklin Road Academy at 5 o'clock start and some district play right there. 5 o'clock starts for the following: Stratford at Hume Fall, Good Pasture at Overton, Franklin County at Murfreesboro Central Magnet. 5:30 starts for Republic at Glencliff, Isa Harding at Hunters Lane. Tullahoma at Kip Antioch Global, McGavick at STEM Academy. 6 o'clock starts Gallatin at Summit, Dixon County at Sycamore, Monterey at Watertown, Montgomery Central at West Creek, Portland at White House Heritage. In district played is Laverne at Wilson Central. 6 o'clock starts also for Siegel at Brentwood, Springfield at Clarksville Northwest, Smyrna at Cookville, Pope John Paul II at Innsworth, Zion Christian at Giles County, White House at Greenbrier, McEwen at Middle Tennessee Christian, 6:30 first touch for University School of Nashville at Martin Luther King, Independence at Rockville, Hillsboro at Beach. 7 o'clock first touch for the remainder of the schedule, except for one. We'll get to that one here shortly. Nolensville at Blackman, Battle Creek at Franklin Christian, Rossview at Hendersonville, Clarksville Northeast, making the trip to Paris at Henry County, Riverdale at Lebanon, Station Camp at Liberty Creek in district play, Columbia at Lincoln County, also district play right there, and a 7:15 start for Green Hill at Ballard Collegiate. In Major League Baseball, as I mentioned, decisive game threes today in the MLB playoffs in the wild card round. It is Detroit at Cleveland. That game should be underway right now on ABC. It is in the top of the first inning with nobody out. At Wrigley Field this afternoon, 4 o'clock start on ESPN. It's the San Diego Padres and the Chicago Cubs. And in the nightcap in the Bronx, it is the Boston Red Sox at the New York Yankees, 7 o'clock first pitch on ESPN. Tonight in the National Football League, NFC West Showdown in California, as the San Francisco 49ers take on the Los Angeles Rams in SoFi, 7:15 kickoff on Amazon Prime. Al Michaels, Kirk Herbstreit on the call. Ladies and gentlemen, those were your scores, that was your schedule, and that concludes today's rundown.
Your top story is always brought to you by the fine folks over at Piggly Wiggly and Neely's Mill in Columbia. Be sure and check out their delicious daily deli lunch options, and they are delicious. Available from 11 a.m. until 6 p.m. Also, their hand-cut meats, and everything is cost plus 10% at the cash register. Piggly Wiggly, Neely's Mill, Columbia, bringing you our top story. As we've mentioned, the boys in gold bringing home the U.S. Open Cup Tournament Championship. This is, and I want to make sure that I get this right because the phraseology is everything. The Nashville Soccer Club is the first Tennessee Major League sports franchise to win a championship.
Yeah, don't discredit the Nashville Sounds.
And they're not the first professional team. They're not the first team to win a professional championship, but they are the first major league team as a member of Major League Soccer. Because again, the 2005 Nashville Sounds did win the Pacific Coast League championship. Now, the Nashville Sounds are a minor league team. They won a minor league championship, but it is a professional championship. Those guys do get paid. Some of them pretty well. But the Nashville Soccer Club, the first major league sports franchise in Tennessee to win a championship with their 2-1 win last night against host Austin Football Club. And it was 1-1 at the half, picked up a goal in the second half. And
penalty kick.
A penalty kick by Sam Surridge before he got ejected for his second yellow card. So at least he did his damage before he departed. But Honey
He got
Mukhtar,
an early start on the celebration. He just went ahead and prepped the bottles for him. He just I'll get in there first, boys.
I'll see y'all in there. Yeah, finish it up. I got you here. Finish it up, But yeah, Mukhtar gets him started early, scoring in the 17th minute, and then Austin managed to even it before the break. But again, Surridge with the big goal there in the second half that stood up and got a yellow card for time wasting of all things. That I didn't get to see the game, unfortunately. I was otherwise detained last night. Okay, I was at the Grand Ole Opry House watching John Baptiste, but anyway, didn't get to see the game. But this is exciting stuff, man. You only win your first championship one time, and so congrats to everybody involved with the Nashville Soccer Club for this accomplishment. I mean, it's a great big deal, really. And it's their first road win in almost 2 months, going back to late June. So July, August, almost 3 months. Basically 3 months. Good time for it.
Yeah, I appreciate Villar Shabilla, friend of the show, stopping by yesterday in his sunglasses, looking good from outside his hotel to talk to us ahead of the U.S. Open final between Nashville SC and Austin FC. And I asked him that question, anytime you can have a first and be the first team to win a championship, it means more and it's special. Yes, this is not the MLS playoffs. This is not the MLS Cup championship, but it's still a championship. And as he kind of elaborated, in soccer, there's multiple championships that you can win. And you want, anytime there's a tournament, you want to win it, Mo. We made fun of Adam Silver with the NBA for the in-season tournament, but it's a championship, right? And if you're a competitor, you want to win those things. In hockey, you want to win the President's Trophy. You want to be the best team. in the regular season, so those things matter. And so anytime you put the opportunity like this in front of competitors and for, an organization looking for something, it's that juice. It's nice to see. And, credit to the Nashville fans, heard over 200 from Villars making the trip during the middle of the week on a Wednesday down to Austin to see this. So they were richly rewarded for their sacrifice and their travel.
Absolutely. And, I've not been to Austin, but from everything I hear, any excuse to go is a good one. If you got a chance to go and root for a team trying to win a championship, that's a good one there too. And so they got to enjoy Austin, and they got to enjoy the full experience of being out there and supporting their team winning a U.S. Open Cup championship. So big ups to those fans that did make the trip. Hanging around with Valère and with Wade has really kind of expanded my soccer knowledge. And you spoke to the multiple championships that are available through soccer, and Nashville played its way to the Leagues Cup finals. I think it was a couple of years ago before they lost to Inter Miami. But, when you're trying to balance winning one of those and trying to win an MLS championship or keep yourself in contention for an MLS championship, there's a lot of roster manipulation and balancing and, load management and that kind of thing. And, Nashville would really like to win MLS, but when you've got a chance to win one, you don't, throw off for what's out there. A bird in the hand is worth two in the bush and that kind of thing. So hopefully this will be a little extra motivation maybe from Nashville Soccer Club, because they've struggled here since that 12-game unbeaten string that they put together. As we mentioned, this was their first road win since June 28th. So, maybe this will spark something here coming down the stretch in MLS play. I think they turn right around and play again this weekend in MLS play.
Yeah, there's 2 games left on their regular season slate. They're right now 6th in the Eastern Conference standings. So they've already clinched an MLS berth for the playoffs, something they didn't do last year. And Valère kind of mentioned that, coming into the season, it was kind of more viewed as a rebuilding year under second-year head coach B.J. Callahan. And here they are winning the U.S. Open final and then making the playoffs. So they have overperformed their expectations. So hat tip to those guys. Our Braves did not overperform expectations. They underperformed. So at least one team locally here for us that we root for got it done and has continued to play well throughout their season.
Absolutely. Now, again, they don't get a whole lot of time to celebrate. They go to Montreal for a Saturday MLS matchup before finishing the season on the 18th, the regular season, against visiting Inter Miami, which means visiting Messi. So still some work to do in MLS, but they got the U.S. Open Cup championship, and I'm sure that cup will be displayed in a place of prominence out at Geodis Park here for the next bit. So again, congratulations to the Nashville Soccer Club, your 2025 U.S. Open Cup champions. Let's take a break here as we get rolling on Throwback Thursday on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we come back, we'll get into Coach's Corner. We'll visit with Franklin Road Academy football coach Justin Geisinger, talk a little bit about his undefeated Panthers. Stick around.
Closer. All new Sportsbook, the latest gaming machines, live horse racing, and more. The Mid-Gaming Hall, Kentucky Downs.
Winning just got closer.
Deep in a forest at Nashville
Nashville Zoo. New creatures here for you to view. Phantoms graced in black and white swing high in trees of dappled light. In rocky crags, tall and steep, small antelopes with nimble feet. A wise old man with beard of white, a sentry perched on stony height. Amidst it all, a hunter lies, with coat of gold and steely eyes. A new adventure just for you. Leopard Forest at Nashville Zoo. Open now.
Busy bee, yeah, busy bee. If you need
Hold on, y'all, hold on. I need to make a call. Hey, this is Brianna with Busy Bee. I'm giving you a call to let you know your technician is on his way.
833.
Busy bee. Guys, not yet. Not yet.
Busy bee, oh,
Now
busy
ready,
bee.
guys.
Call 775-7833.
Custom Stone Handlers supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with Riverstone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe the measure of any person or company is how you treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStoneHandlers.com.
Welcome back into Throwback Thursday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That's David Wilson. Joining us now here on Coach's Corner, Justin GEISINGER, fourth-year Franklin Road Academy coach. The Panthers undefeated following last week's win over Battleground Academy. Some people would tell you it was an upset. I'm sure Coach GEISINGER would say otherwise. But Justin, good afternoon. Thanks for joining us.
Absolutely, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Hey, talk to us a little bit about that game. I mean, again, BGA coming off of a runner-up finish last year in Division II AA and had kind of been running roughshod a little bit to this point of the season.
Sure.
What did you feel like was going to have to take place for you guys to get them this past weekend, and how much of that actually happened?
Yeah, I mean, really, our approach is the next game approach. I mean, it happened to be the next game, as we kind of were hitting that mid-season mark. And, our goal is to try to be our best come November. Last year, obviously, that's a team, yes. You could say some of our players had it circled, being a team that knocked us out of the playoffs and after beating them in the regular season. But for us, we don't talk a whole lot about wins and losses in our program. Those things are out of our control. We really just talk about our response throughout the course of the night. We know BGA is a really talented football team. They're well coached. We knew they were going to come in with a good plan. And we knew there was going to be adversity throughout the game. And there was, especially through the first half, being down 14-0 at half and be able to battle back from that. I was most proud about the resiliency of our kids and the resolve that they had, able to come back against a really talented team and being able to shut them out in the second half and put 21 points up to, just enough to get it done was exciting. So it was good. It was a great team win. All three phases had, key contributions to the victory. And, we're moving past that one. We're getting ready for good pasture, obviously coming up tomorrow for a big homecoming game. That's another region one. So that'll be the next biggest one for us.
You talk about it's the next game, and I get that. But, when you're dealing with 15, 16, 17-year-olds, coach, and they know that you're 5-0 going into good pasture, at what point do you have to, if nothing else, squelch, talk about trying to go undefeated and just kind of bring them back to that next game?
Yeah. We never obviously talk about being undefeated. That's, again, results being out of our control. We talk a lot about the equation E+R=O, which was, a part of our cultural development program for years. And we put a lot of weight into that. And we talk about events or things that we can influence, but we can't control. Outcomes are things that we can't control. The only thing we can control is our response in there. And that's how we respond to everything from the football standpoint. It's worrying about the next practice, the next rep, making sure we're keeping up with our schoolwork and doing right in the classroom, making sure we're keeping up at home and treating our parents and our siblings the right way. And it all kind of goes hand in hand, and kind of stands, our process is WTO. And you'll see that on the back of our helmets. It stands for win the one. And when we talk about win the one, society's way of looking at that might be the accolade, the undefeated season. You're talking about the championships. All things that are goals for us, all things we're striving for. But we talk about winning the next thing in front of us. It happens to be a conversation with mom and dad in the car ride home. If it happens to be an exam and not procrastinating and making sure we're winning the opportunities in the evening to get in our books and get those things done. So with whatever it is, it's more of a life thing. But we feel like that kind of equation and those letters tie directly into life. They also tie into successful football as well.
Justin, we've entered now the month of October, and this is kind of that point of the season where teams start to separate themselves from one another. Through the first 5 weeks of the season and the first couple months, or the month rather, what have you learned about this football team that's really surprised you and just kind of got you excited about the stretch run?
So we have 7 seniors, and this is the smallest senior group that I've ever coached, and been doing this a while now. And we've really challenged them all the way back when we started doing some leadership training with them in the spring and through the summer and into the season about how they can really use that as a strength and growing close and kind of having that smaller, more intimate group can kind of feed off that. And so I've been proud of that senior group. I don't want to say I'm surprised by them. We have some really good, talented players in that group that have contributed a lot of years for us, but they've done a really good job there, kind of taking some things from last year's group. That was a talented group, and really learning and growing from those guys. And then, but really, we're getting to that part of the year where you go through a lot of our exit meetings from last year with all our players, and they felt like we got to later in the season and closer to playoff time, and the monotony of football, the routine of week after week, of being able to handle that with maturity. And that's what we're really trying to work on as we kind of hit the back half of the season and get into playoff time, is to be playing our best football come that part of the year. And, I think our guys felt like have that little sour taste in their mouth from the semifinals from last year, and maybe doesn't feel like we had our best game. And yeah, we had some injuries and some things, and you can point fingers at a lot of things, but the guys really feel like we could have done a better job from that standpoint as we got late in the year. So that's what our focus is going to be, is as we push to have that next week just be our best game. And that's all we're trying to do, regardless who we're playing, regardless if it's in region, non-region game that we still have left. It doesn't matter. We're just trying to be at our best that next week.
Now I have another one here. I know you don't like to focus particularly on individuals. You guys are a team from start to finish, but you have one of the best talents in the mid-state with Amari Sanders. What makes him so special and so unique, and just an overall great football player?
Yeah, I mean, I think from what you've seen from him as far as his talent, kind of shows itself with how he plays. Yeah, unbelievable. Probably the best game I've seen him play. This past Friday night. Key takeaway in the game, and he's contributing significantly now on both sides of the ball, and especially really all 3 phases. His measurables, you look at a 6'4" plus kid, 210, 215-pound kid, and what he's able to do on any given Friday night. None of that's a surprise at this point, but very cerebral, very smart kid, good student. He's a coach's kid as well. His dad is our defensive coordinator, who does a great job with our defense, and Coach Ed Sanders. And so, I mean, he has that too, which I think has really helped, having a dad that has been a player at the collegiate level and coached at the collegiate level a little bit. So he's helped ground him a little bit from the home standpoint there, and him being surrounded with obviously that and along with our staff has been really, really, really good for him. But obviously he's got a lot of God-given ability as well. So talented kid, sharp kid. I mean, everything runs through him, through our back end of our defense. Like I said, he's doing some really good things on offense too. So that's been exciting.
Justin Geisinger, Franklin Road Academy football coach, joining us here on Coach's Corner on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Justin, it's interesting as you talk about Omari and you talk about Ed, and you've been in this area for a little bit. This is your 4th year at FRA after spending 7 years as a head coach up at Pope John Paul II, but you played your college ball locally here at Vanderbilt before getting some time in the NFL.
Yep.
As a local native myself, it feels like the level of coaching has really ramped up in this area over the last 10, 15, 20 years. You're talking about guys who have played this game and played it at a high level. And no disrespect to anybody previously, but just it feels like that impact. Again, when you talk about you and your background, you talk about Ed, who played and starred at Maplewood, played at Tennessee State, coached at Tennessee State, you know, and with Omari, obviously the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, but it just feels like there are more guys like y'all on more staffs across Middle Tennessee that are kind of helping raise the level of play across Middle Tennessee football. Just what do you see as far as that goes?
Yeah, I mean, there's no question. I started coaching high school football out of playing, started, when I was up at JP2 in 2010. And from then until now, I guess 15 years removed, you're absolutely right. I mean, the level of coaching, the level of play, especially, I've been in Division II this entire time, but whether it was in 3A or 2A now, but the coaching's always been good. I think it was always been the best football in the state. Yes, I would agree. It has ramped up quite a bit. Every given week, every team's trying to elevate their programs, on and off the field with the things they're doing, with the coaches they have, with the players. Obviously, the talent is all over the place in Nashville football in general. In Division II for sure. But it's a challenge. I love it. We embrace the challenge. Our staff loves it. But having friends in coaching and kind of spread out now around the country, I would put Division II, Tennessee football up there with just about anybody. As far as the level of play and the level of competition, the level of coaching, week in and week out. So it's for sure.
Yeah. David.
Absolutely. Coach, going into tomorrow night, talking specifically about Good Pasture, Tyler Turner has done a great job getting that ship kind of turned around this year. They have some quality players, one of the more underrated running backs in the mid-state as well. What kind of matchup problems do they present, and some things that you guys have to do well, both offensively and defensively, to remain undefeated tomorrow night?
Yeah, hats off to Coach Turner. He's they're definitely much improved this year. You turn on the tape and you look at them. Much more balanced in what they're doing. They run the football really well. The running back that they have, who I believe was at Davidson Academy, is now there at Good Pasture, but he's a downhill runner, and he's a tough guy to tackle. Quarterback's back, a guy that throws the ball can make all the throws. So you definitely have to honor him from that standpoint. So I think they are well balanced. They're extremely patient with play calling, and they trust in their process there for sure. And on the defensive side of the ball, they compete. 11 hats to the ball. Those guys run to the football, and that's the thing I think that jumps off immediately. They're sound, they're disciplined, they don't miss tackles. So we know what we got to work out for us. We know we have to be ready to play, being a homecoming week, being a week that can be full of a lot of great things, but also can be distractions at times too, if you allow it to be. And we preached on that all week. So we got to finish up with a good day of prep today, to be ready for a team that's going to come in here and give us everything they have tomorrow. That's for sure.
Justin, you mentioned earlier you've got 7 seniors on your roster this time around, and while it is a team game, it means that some younger guys have probably had to step up for you this time around. Who among those younger guys has stood out for you here over the first half?
Well, there's been a lot. I'm an O-line guy, right? So to start with that, we have a freshman center, and Willis Beard, who stepped up this year, and it's hard. I think it's hard to be a freshman and play varsity football in this league, period, let alone when you're up front in the trenches. So he's somebody who had to step up there, a position group for us. So we were banged up early in the year, in the preseason, through the summer and in preseason, in that position group especially. So we hit adversity early there, and we had to kind of figure some things out, and he's done a great job there. So that's one I would point out there for sure. But several. I mean, there's several freshmen. You look at our defensive front right now, and we have two freshmen in Dylan Booker and Jackson Hanold that are both contributing and playing a ton of meaningful reps there. But we have right now we have about 5, maybe 6 freshmen that are contributing significantly for us on Friday nights, which, that's hard to do in Division II. But at the same time, we feel like it'll be good for our growth and our long term as well with those guys as they get some really meaningful experience.
That's just what I was sitting here thinking, Justin. When you can mix that many freshmen in on a team as successful as you all have been to this point, you can build for the future and build for right now at the same time. That's kind of a win-win situation for you, I guess.
Yeah, no doubt. And I mean, I think, at any point you want our guys to kind of come up through the system, and there's going to be a lot of guys that are playing junior varsity, which we take very seriously. We schedule a full 10-game season for those guys, and they're coached by our entire staff. It's not one of those things we're sending a couple coaches to coach JV. Our entire staff's up there. We film it. We treat it the same way we do a varsity game, because a lot of those guys that are taking meaningful reps as us is, our past might be different than a guy that plays as a freshman. We might have a guy. I mean, you look at our quarterback from last year, and Roman Mahlerwein, who was a first-team All-Region selection. He started JV as a junior and was a first-team varsity starter, All-Region quarterback as a senior. So if that shows anything, so we have guys kind of all over that spectrum, that we're trying to develop, that we know are going to be guys that are going to step in maybe as juniors or seniors, and then kind of like this year in some holes, some guys that we have some physically mature and ready freshmen that were able to fill some holes for us earlier. But it's kind of the whole scope that we look at the program as we're trying to build our roster.
Justin, you played your high school ball in Pennsylvania before coming down here to play at Vanderbilt in the early 2000s, and other than your NFL career, basically never left. I don't know how much time on Saturdays you get to pay attention to your alma mater. They got a pretty big game on Saturday. Yeah. What's it like watching Vanderbilt have the success that they are having right now?
It's been amazing. So, Coach Lee and I graduated together at Vandy, so same year. So, I still remember, I tell the story a lot, but back when he was GAing, I think it was South Dakota State at the time, and, living in a small apartment up there, just trying to get by as a GA. And I remember him telling me, I'm going to be the head coach of this place one day. And that was my first year with the Buffalo Bills. I was back training in the weight room, and he just happened to be back home visiting. And of course I was like, man, that's awesome. And not that I ever doubted him. And then you see him take a step here, a jump here, then he's at Notre Dame as a coordinator. And then, all of a sudden there he is as the head coach of the Commodores. And the job he's doing is phenomenal. I knew he was the right guy for that hire, as soon as that decision was made. And, I knew that, you talk about a cerebral guy, smart guy. He knows exactly what he's doing and how he's doing it and how he's building it. And it's been fun to watch. And I'm proud to say I was, a teammate of his and a Commodore.
Franklin Road Academy football coach Justin GEISINGER joining us here on Coach's Corner on Main Street Sports Today. Coach, we appreciate you taking some time with us this afternoon. Wish y'all luck this weekend, and we'll be keeping up.
Thanks a bunch, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Hey, before we get out of here, we need to mention our Team of the Week and Athlete of the Week award winners. We will start with our Custom Stone Handlers Into Win Life Team of the Week. Besides the military, there is no greater team building experience than high school athletics. Custom Stone Handlers invites you to get in the game. Our Into Win Life Team of the Week is the Summit Girls Golf Team, finishing third in their district tournament last weekend, led by Cameron Poirier, Poiror. I hope I'm getting that right. I apologize if I didn't. But Cameron, a state tournament qualifier last year, led Summit to their third place finish at the district tournament and a spot in this week's region tournament. Cameron from there qualified again for the state tournament that will take place next week up in East Tennessee. But again, congratulations to the Summit Lady Spartans golf team, our Custom Stone Handlers Into Win Life Team of the Week. Our Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia Athlete of the Week, Peyton Niehaus, a receiver / returner for Mount Pleasant, had 4 catches for 85 yards. 2 of those catches went for touchdowns in the Tigers' big 48-0 homecoming win over Scotts Hill. Also a punt return for a touchdown. So 3 touchdowns in a huge homecoming victory in Region 5 2A play for Mount Pleasant senior Peyton Niehaus, our Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia Athlete of the Week. Congrats to him and to the Summit girls golf team as well, our weekly awards winners. Let's take a break as we continue here on Throwback Thursday on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we come back, we'll get into a little baseball. Stick around.
Columbia Power and Water Systems is dedicated to bringing our customers reliable local service. Whether you're turning on a light switch, your faucet, or streaming on TV, our dedicated team members from here in Murray County work every day to keep you on. If you need us, call us 931-388-4833 or visit cpws.com. CPWS, local service, local support.
Zion Christian Academy at zioneagles.org or 931-388-7531. You can schedule your appointment to visit their beautiful campus. Again, zioneagles.org or 931-7531 to schedule your visit today.
$1974. Among the 13 Atlanta Braves hits in a 13-0 season finale victory over visiting Cincinnati was a 7th-inning solo home run by Hank Aaron. It was his 20th of the season, the 736th of his career, further extending his all-time record, and his last as a Brave, as he would be traded over the offseason to the Milwaukee Brewers of the American League. The homer was also Aaron's 3,600th career hit, adding to a total that yields one of the greatest stats in sports. Take away all 755 home runs, and he'd still have more than 3,000 hits. That was this day in Braves history. End of an era, obviously. He helped the Braves move to Atlanta and kind of become the crown gem of professional sports in the South when they did that in 1966. Spent 10 years with the Braves in Atlanta before that. So obviously one of my favorites. So anytime we can get a this day in Braves history that involves Hank Aaron, it's a good day. Game 3 of wild card action. Cleveland and Detroit are tied at 0 heading into the bottom of the third at Cleveland. As David mentioned during the rundown, we got 3 winner-take-all series here, and the Dodgers had a little drama, sounds like. Came back from down 2-0, took a 7-2 lead against Cincinnati. Cincinnati tried to do something late, but the Dodgers closed out the Reds in 2 games out on the West Coast, winning that one 8-4 last night. Detroit and Cleveland playing right now. San Diego and the Cubs start at 4 at Wrigley, and The Red Sox and Yankees start at 7 in Yankee Stadium. The Yankees having to stave off elimination last night. David, it feels like to me that the Yankees are probably the most desperate because Aaron Boone has kind of had some missteps here over these last couple of games, and they might be ready to run him out of the Big Apple if they don't get it done here against the Red Sox.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a name that I've heard just listening to Sirius XM radio, just, plugging through the baseball channels this afternoon that, his job might have been on the line last night. Well, it's probably going to be on the line again tonight. Against the Red Sox team, that traded Rafael Devers early in the season, we're thinking there's no way the Red Sox make the playoffs. Craig Breslow, their GM, give him credit. I know a lot of people were calling for his job earlier this season, and he said, just wait. We're going to be a better team, and we're going to make the playoffs because of it. Here they are. This is a team. They don't even have Roman Anthony on the field. Garrett Crochet absolutely dominated, retired 17 straight at one point the other night. So I told Calvin this yesterday, man, if you love pitching, you've seen some really good pitching the last couple of days. Tarek Skubal in game one of that Detroit-Cleveland series, absolutely phenomenal. Carlos Rodon and Brian Bale battled yesterday. Max Fried battled Garrett Crochet. So we've had some really good pitching matchups. So I'm excited. There's nothing better in my mind than playoff baseball. And I hate that I can't be at home on the couch tonight to watch that Yankees and Red Sox game. I told you earlier this year, I think the Padres and the Dodgers have kind of surpassed them as of right now when it comes to one of the best rivalries in Major League Baseball sports. But historically, there's nothing better than Red Sox Yankees. Those two teams, there's so much even postseason history between those two. So they will add another chapter tonight.
Without question. And you mentioned those great pitching performances that we've seen to this point in the wild card round. And you mentioned Max Fried among those, and the fact that he didn't get to go any further in his than he did was one of the things that has kind of has Aaron Boone in the crosshairs for a lot of people. I mean, 6 in the third inning, 6 strikeouts, scoreless, and he hooks him, and then all hell breaks loose with Luke Weaver coming in and giving up a couple. And next thing you know, the Red Sox get out with a 3-1 win. Overmanaging.
The game has changed. The game has changed, Mo. When before, back in the day, I'll just say this: when the Braves were making their run in the '90s, that you got to fortunately witness and watch, Mo. You probably had some great times then. Obviously, they didn't cap it off as much as we wanted, but just some great times and some great players. Pitchers went 6, 7, 8, 9 innings. I mean, Jack Morris against the Braves in the '91 World Series, he said, "Give me the 10th inning." And I would go out there. It's changed now. We live in the world of that super bullpen. I mean, if you think about the Padres right now, all they want their starters to do is get us through 5 or get us through 6. We're going to roll Mason Miller out there. He's going to throw 104 right down the middle. And they're going to roll Jason Adam out there, and they're going to roll Robert Suarez out there. And we just live in the world now of the bullpen. These guys are throwing harder than ever before. So starters are not asked to go longer and save themselves. They're saying, go out there, give me your best bullets for 5 or 6 innings, and we're going to turn that thing over to the bullpen. We live in the world of analytics now, too. It doesn't they don't like pitchers facing that lineup the 3rd time through the order, the 4th time through the order. It's just the game has changed from what you grew up watching.
And it's a tough paradigm shift for me, because my thing is, if a pitcher is being effective, it feels like the best indication of future success is past history. And if a guy is getting guys out, I trust him to continue to get guys out, and you talk about super bullpens, and that's fantastic, but you better damn be sure you've got one, because the Yankees didn't have Mason Miller coming out. They had Luke Weaver, and he got touched up. And the next thing you know, Max Fried is staring at a no decision, and the Yankees are staring at a loss. And Aaron Boone is staring at needing to win 2 games to keep his job. I mean,
I was listening to that too, going back to your talk about just Aaron Boone and, is he going to be on the outs? It takes a special manager, whether it's the Mets or the Yankees, to manage a team in New York, just to be a coach, whether it's the NBA, NFL, baseball, be a manager. The New York media is relentless, and they will question every single little thing that you do. So it's going to be interesting tonight. For me, I'm not a Yankees fan. I would lean more towards the Red Sox. But I will say this: if Aaron Boone somehow found himself with a job opening, I definitely think that would be somebody that the Braves should at least entertain and ask, because he's managed, successful players, been to a World Series, had been to the playoffs, and I think that the Braves would definitely need to look to somebody like that to maybe talk to about their opening.
You obviously have looked at the run of show, but B, that's a an interesting hypothetical there. If Boone hits the market, there are at least 5 openings right now, including Atlanta, also San Francisco, Minnesota, Texas, and the Angels are without
Don't forget about
managers at
Baltimore.
this point. Well, have they said? I mean, Baltimore, Colorado, and Washington all made midseason moves. They had interim guys. Now, have they said that those guys aren't coming back in each of those cases? Do we know that?
I believe that the Orioles have said that theirs is not coming back. The other two, Washington and Colorado, have not made that decision. But I think you can add Baltimore. So I think there are 6 openings right now.
At least 6. Interesting.
The Braves is most attractive right now of the current ones. The Braves are most attractive.
I think without saying, probably followed closely by the Giants, actually. But my concern with the Giants is you just got rid of a pretty good manager in Bob Melvin. He didn't have necessarily the success that you wanted him to have, but I'm not sure that was all necessarily on him either. So I think it's going to be intriguing to see what they do, but it's certainly going to be intriguing to see what the Braves do in the aftermath of Brian Snitker, who got a truck, got an all expenses paid trip to Hawaii, and he's been assured that he will be inducted into the Braves 2020 part of the Braves 2026 Hall of Fame class, I think was what was being reported yesterday. So, those are some lovely parting gifts, I guess.
Yeah, I would say so. Congrats to him and Ronnie, his wife. Obviously, just the time and sacrifice he spent for the organization is second to none. He's gonna get his day. Obviously, I hate that we couldn't give him the send off that we gave Charlie Morton, but for him to go into the Braves Hall of Fame before a game next year, obviously that will be a very bittersweet moment for us. I was laughing. They were kind of going down memory lane with Snit yesterday. And they were laughing at one point. They asked him one day when Ronald Acuna was kind of battling some injuries, "How's Ronnie doing?" And he was like, "Well, she's good. She's back at home. She's doing well." They're like, the other Ronnie." So he's like,
the other Ronnie.
The other Ronnie. So we'll miss Snit, one of the good guys in the game. And we've kind of talked about this on the show, Mo. It was time. The Braves are kind of at that fork in the road right now with the current roster that they have, where it was time for a new voice, and we'll see what direction they will take. I'm sure you have some thoughts on who their next manager should be. For me personally, I just wish it would be somebody that maybe is not in the organization right now to give them a new perspective and a new opportunity.
I think that anecdote says a lot. No, Snit, the other Ronnie. Yeah, the one that you dropped to 7th in the batting order at one point this season. That Ronnie, that's the one that we're asking about, with all due respect to Mrs. Snitker.
Pretty important player, a pretty important player to the Braves. I mean, best player on their team in my mind.
In most people's mind. And, to that point, if he's healthy, he hits no lower than 4th in any Braves batting order to anybody that, anyway, looking at a online sports book that has handicapped the Atlanta Braves next manager. David, I want to get your thoughts on some of these names. According to this particular sports book, Mark DeRosa is the favorite, followed by Walt Weiss, David Ross, Freddie Gonzalez, Skip Schumacher, former Vandy boy Ryan Flaherty, who is now the bench coach for the Chicago Cubs, who are in the playoffs.
Former Brave.
That's right, for a short period of time, but yeah, former Brave. Former Cardinals catcher Yadier Molina, ex-Nats manager Davey Martinez,
former Brave.
Ex-Orioles manager Brandon Hyde, current University of Tennessee coach Tony Vitello, Bud Black, who was fired as the Rockies manager earlier this year, and Georgia native George Lombard, who is on the coaching staff of the LA Dodgers, but has been a coach in the Braves organization as well. And again, Georgia native, former two-sport star coming out of high school.
And it really quickly, his son is going to be one of the top picks in next year's draft coming out of high school. I'll say this. It's a balance, right, Mo? I do not necessarily want a first-time manager managing this team. I want somebody that's been in the fire before. So, of those names, I think Skip Schumacher, who's led a team to the postseason, a team that, by the way, did not have the resources that we have. Miami, I mean, forgive them. They say they want to win, but they really don't want to win. They don't put the money into the team. I think Skip Schumacher could do some damage with us. That being said, he has the inside track to the Rangers job. So we will see how that goes.
He is in the
Brandon
Rangers
Hyde
front
is
office right now, right?
He is, correct. Brandon
Okay,
Hyde is
okay.
interesting because you could easily say he led Baltimore to its height. And you could say that Baltimore's front office was the reason why they kind of piddled away because of not making the right moves. I don't like Freddie Gonzalez. He's had his time. David Ross is interesting. He's been very open. Somebody wrote yesterday, I want another crack at this thing. And, he's a former Brave, fits that mold. Catchers normally make really good managers most time. DeRosa, he's always going to be a name. Obviously, a former Brave, lives in the greater Atlanta area. He said some things, though, this past season about the Braves that I feel like are unforgivable if the job was open.
Some things that almost should disqualify him from the job, to be honest. Yeah.
About one Ronald Acuna Jr. and players making too much money. Can't say that, then walk in that locker room in my mind.
You made the comment that you would like to go outside the organization. I feel likewise, which to me kind of disqualifies, like you said, Weiss. And I like Freddie. I thought Freddie did an admirable job the first time around, but I think, to your point, I think a new voice is needed. I think we need somebody who's, if they have any connection with this organization, it's been a while ago, which is why I kind of fall in the David Ross camp here. I'm a little surprised that Ron Washington isn't mentioned. It might be an age thing, as you and I talked about in a text exchange yesterday. My ideal situation, and I don't know if Wash would go for it, but my ideal would be for it to be Ross with Wash coming in as his bench coach. Now, again, that might not be the thing. Either of those guys may not necessarily sit with that. But obviously, Wash had some health issues this past year that kind of cut his tenure in LA short, and that was unfortunate. But he's just so energetic, man, and he's contagious in that clubhouse, it feels like. And I'd love to see him in a Braves uniform again. Not really feeling Yadier Molina. I'm not sure where that's coming from.
Yeah, he's not going to be a Brave. If anything, he'd be a Cardinals manager one day.
And I'm not sure how you sell former Washington manager Davey Martinez to the Braves fan base, if you're concerned with that kind of thing. Tony Vitello, I love Tony V. I'm just not sure how that approach works at the major league level, that rah-rah deal. Let him get hit, let him make his managing debut somewhere else, as far as I'm concerned. I feel like of this list of 12, I'm all in on David Ross. Ryan Flaherty would be right there alongside Skip Schumacher, but again, I'm not really feeling a first-time manager with what is at the Atlanta Braves' disposal right now. So it will certainly be something to keep an eye on as we go through this offseason. Hopefully it doesn't linger too long. We'll see. Let's take a break as we wrap up the first hour of Throwback Thursday here on Main Street today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we come back for hour number 2, it is again Throwback Thursday. We'll be throwing it back to a recent conversation that we had with Jeff Metcalfe, formerly of the Arizona Republic, talking a little WNBA. Stick around. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy at zioneagles.org or 931-388-7531. You can schedule your appointment to visit their beautiful campus. Again, zioneagles.org or 931-7531 to schedule your visit today.
Is your internet slowing you down? It's time for an upgrade. Whether you're at home, working from your home office, or at your business, it's time to unleash the speed you need with speeds up to 1 gig at CPWS for as low as $70 a month. Give us a call, 931-375-7777. Local service, local support, CPWS.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Who still keeps tabs on the Phoenix Mercury and the WNBA, and pleased to have him with us. Jeff, good afternoon.
Hi guys, Maurice, I gotta appreciate you bringing the 1954 institutional knowledge to the table on your previous segment. I do that sometimes around here with the young reporters, and I don't know if they bear with me or they just want me to be quiet. I'm not really sure.
I understand. It's good when you can give reference to stuff, man, and I can do that a little bit, so it works out well. But what I can't give reference to, Jeff, is I'm not sure I've seen a snap quite like Cheryl Reeves's on Friday night, late in that Mercury Lynx Game 3 matchup.
Well, I agree with that. I've never seen one like that in person. Let's put it that way. When you look at the totality of what happened, both of her technical fouls, the way she berated the officials before getting tossed. She threw some F-bombs at the fans on the way out, and then what she said after the game, which was kind of tantamount to, questioning the integrity of the league when it comes to officiating. So I sort of think she made the decision to get a suspension herself. I don't think the league had any choice.
Yeah, she kind of went scorched earth from the get pretty much. But that said, Jeff, she hasn't been the only one who has had issues with WNBA officiating over the course of this season. Now, I mean, the play in question, was it a bad call? I think it's kind of borderline, could have gone either way, but I mean, she was committed to that and took it all the way to its full conclusion, I guess, which was yesterday's loss with her suspended and obviously with Nafisa Collier out. And, maybe Phoenix wins that game anyway. I don't want to take anything away from the Mercury, but the fact of the matter is Reeves isn't on the sidelines. Fee isn't in the game, and Phoenix wins.
Yeah, well, it's definitely a big factor. You know how that works sometimes, though. It can lead to an energy boost for the people that are, there taking Collier's place. Eric Thibault was the acting head coach. He's been a head coach in the WNBA before. So they did have, I would say, some things going in their favor, which played out at the beginning of the game. They went ahead 12-1. They later led by 14. Going into the fourth quarter, they led by 13. So it wasn't like they rolled over and weren't competitive in that game. And I guess you got to give the Mercury credit being down 13 and then scoring 31 in the fourth quarter. And, you know, in the second game in Minnesota, they came back from 20 and won that game. And Collier was playing and Sherrill was on the bench. So, you know, really, I think it's a bit of what Minnesota was missing, but it's also what Phoenix is doing right now.
There you go.
Jeff, as you know, we kind of watch this play out, and you know, it becomes a bigger and bigger story. I don't know about you guys, but I kind of landed two things can kind of be true at once because on one hand, you know, I see the issue where Cheryl Reeve might take her position, and whether that means publicly or privately, but also, you know, I can see where the league has to come down and do this. And Jeff, I'm just really curious because Phoenix has been such a puzzling team to me all year, and now they suddenly, after ebbing and flowing all year, they find themselves now just awaiting who they're going to play in the championship series. What have you kind of seen in terms of the emotional roller coaster with this team, and kind of where would you say their spirits are entering these finals?
Well, part of the reason for what you just said was that they had a significant number of injuries in the early part of the season. They didn't really have their quote-unquote big three together until the middle of June. And then even after that, they had Satu Sabali miss games on both sides of the All-Star break. So trying to kind of mesh this new post-Diana Taurasi, Brittany Griner era together, everybody here pretty much thought they've got some really good pieces, but you didn't get to see it in its totality until we got to, I would say, probably late July, early August. And then at that point, Nate Tibbetts, who's in his second year at the head coach, pretty much just reduced his rotation down to 8 players. And they've had a number of role players off the bench that have really helped them during this period when players were out. But he pretty much said, look, we got to get our 8-person rotation ready as soon as we can. And remember, he's kind of coming from an NBA background too. So he's probably got a number in his head like, this is the number of games when we need to kind of narrow it down and get ready for the postseason. So then at the they had a nice 6 or 7 game win streak late in the season. Then they rested some people and ended up losing the last 3 regular season games. But that was more like, we're locked into the number 4 seed. It doesn't really matter. We're gonna lean on the side of getting some players some rest. And so that's a little bit. They still were 27-17. They won the tiebreaker over the Liberty, and that was important because they met in the first round, and the Mercury got the 3rd game and won that series 2-1. So, you know, that puts you in against Minnesota, the number 1 seed and the team that had been dominant all year long. The Mercury lost that season series 3-1, but they were missing 2 of their big 3 in all 4 of the games they played against the Lynx during the regular season. So it's kind of just a different, more composed and not more composed, but more experienced team with this group of players in the playoffs than anybody saw during the regular season.
Well, more on that, Jeff. Speaking of those big 3, you know, Alyssa Thomas, about a month or so ago, right before Asia Wilson really took off, you know, she was a viable candidate to maybe take home your MVP award. I'm curious, we know what she can do, certainly in the regular season. How have you maybe personally, or what have you taken away from her impact now, really just all over the court as the Mercury have now thrust themselves just a couple of wins away from a championship?
Yeah. It's been interesting because I told some people before the season started that Alyssa Thomas is kind of player that when you watch her game in and game out, she's on your team, you watch her the totality of the season. That's the only way you really understand what Alyssa Thomas brings to the table. When she was at Connecticut, like for us being in the West, we didn't see enough Connecticut Sun games, I think, to fully appreciate what Thomas was doing with that team. And now we're seeing it. It's kind of like my best comparison would be when the Suns got Chris Paul. You kind of knew here how good Chris Paul was, but then you watch him every single game and you go, oh my gosh, this guy is phenomenal, even at the latter stages of his career. And Thomas she's getting up there a little bit, but she's still playing, prime level basketball. And I'll tell you this, when she gets the ball and she's going coast to coast, they call her the engine for a reason. And you don't want to get hit by the engine, I'll tell you that. So, her speed, just the triple doubles, her vision, all the things she brings to the table. And you could see, if you've watched some of these playoff games, the chemistry that she's got with DeWanna Bonner from when they were teammates at Connecticut. And in that fourth quarter yesterday, the two of them scored 21 of the 31 Mercury points to put that game away. So, you've got Thomas, you've got Sabali, Kalia Copper is in her second year here. Then they brought Bonner in after the failed experiment with her being at Indiana, and then role players around those four. And it's really been rather spectacular to watch, because you wouldn't think that the first year after losing Taurasi and Griner,
right,
that you would be able to reshape your roster and get to the finals.
Jeff Metcalfe, formerly of the Arizona Republic, joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Phoenix, again, wins 84-76 on its home court in Game 3, and then closes out the series yesterday with an 86-81 victory to claim a spot in the WNBA Championship Series. And Jeff, you just talked about it. Wade just talked about it. I don't know that this team, this franchise, has gotten enough credit for, accomplishing what they've accomplished this year in the aftermath of Diana Taurasi's retirement and Brittany Griner's leaving as a free agent, going to the Atlanta Dream this year.
I think Nick Uren is the general manager here. He's in his second year too. And I think the collaboration between him and Nate Tibbetts they're very much on the same page in terms of what style of basketball they want, what kind of personnel they want. And I think that's part of the reason that they didn't really make an effort to bring Brittany back. I think they felt like, we're going to do the best we can. This even predated the year before. We're going to do the best we can as long as Taurasi is here, to try to put a competitive team around her. But I think they knew all along they wanted the kind of sort of point forward, mobile transition type basketball. They wanted to have Thomas and then surround her with shooters even more than what she had at Connecticut. That's part of the reason she led the league in assists. And when they started the season, they only had two players back from the previous season. Copper, who had only been here 1 year, and Natasha Mack. Those are the only players who were here in 2024. So that's a pretty dramatic roster reinvention, if you want to put it that way.
No doubt. Meanwhile, as you look at that other semifinal series with the Fever and the Aces, the 6th-seeded Indiana Fever, the 2nd-seeded Las Vegas Aces, you feel like that if you are the Mercury, the Fever would be the more favorable matchup, but I'm just not sure that that's necessarily the case. Wade likes to refer to him as the zombie Fever. They've got a full starting five over there in dress clothes from game to game, but they keep finding a way to get it done. I mean, who do you want to see? Now, on the other hand, the other team has the MVP and possibly the best player in the league in Asia Wilson. So it feels like it's a no-brainer, but at the same time, this Indiana Fever team isn't going away, clearly.
No, and you got to give Stephanie White and those players that the survivors, if you want to call them that. I think one thing about the Fever is Caitlin Clark takes up so much of the oxygen in the room, and with good reason, because she's such a great player. But I think to some degree, it took away from Kelsey Mitchell, took away from Aaliyah Boston. And people didn't fully realize, oh, yes, we've lost Clark, we've lost Cunningham, we've lost Ari McDonald, Colson. I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody. We lost all these people, but we still got Boston and Mitchell and Lexi Hull and, and Stephanie White as a high-level coach. And I think that's what people are learning now is, this is how good Indiana is with this group and could have been even better if Clark had been there all year and some of these other players that are out. So, yes, I think anybody that follows the WNBA at all would say you'd rather play Indiana in the finals than play Las Vegas, and partly because of Wilson. But again, it's 2-2, and the fifth game is in Vegas. So, you think the Aces would win, and that's the way that finals would go, which would be a rematch of the 2021 semifinals that the Mercury won in 5 games. And then they played Chicago in the finals that year and lost to the Sky. I don't think the Sky have been good since then. And Kalia Copper, ironically, was the finals MVP in 2021, and now she's here. So, there's some interesting connections there, if that's what it ends up being. But I do give Indiana a lot of credit. I just didn't think that they'd be able to pull off where they are right now.
Their run, Jeff, kind of reminds you of, an NBA franchise that made a similar run from the same state this year, where you just can't get rid of the Pacers. You kind of somehow just can't get rid of these Fever right now.
Yeah. Yeah, and they've got a great home court advantage, and, they managed to win a game in Las Vegas before they went home. Can they win another game in Las Vegas? I don't know. It seems to me almost like Asia Wilson is going to will the Aces to a win in Game 5, just because she's such a great player and such a competitor. But I'll tell you one thing though: the Mercury are glad they're playing a Game 5 while the Mercury are resting.
Yeah,
because in 2021 the Mercury had to play a 5th game. Chicago was already done and resting, and it made a huge difference in the first game of that series, of that finals. So, the Mercury is happy to sit and see the other two kind of slug it out.
Literally. Jeff Metcalfe of the formerly of the Arizona Republic, joining us here on Main Street Sports today. Jeff, to kind of take it full circle, how does the WNBA address its officiating issue, or does the WNBA realize that it has an officiating issue? If you listen to Cheryl Reeve, if you listen to Nikki Hammond and some of the other coaches, Stephanie White even, the coaches seem to be in lockstep in that it's lacking. How do they address this? Do they address this?
Well, I think they have to, and don't forget we're in the midst of CBA discussions too. And I think the players, they know that the physicality has gotten to the point that, they either need to make a significant investment in better officials, or they need to do something rules-wise. Something needs to happen. And I think it's probably good that this CBA is being negotiated right now, because that's definitely going to be part of it. So you're going to get the push from the coaches. You're going to get the push from the players. And I know the league recognizes the issue. What they think the solution is, I don't know. But I think this is the right time for all of these sides to kind of come together and say, okay, this is part of what we're addressing, going forward. Maybe not directly in the CBA, but through the conversations of the CBA. That's going to be an important thing. And you don't want, your most established coaches having a situation like where you have to suspend one during the playoffs. That's on Cheryl. Her behavior was over the top, but you don't want it to get to that point.
Jeff, real quick before we get you. Oh, go ahead, Mo. I got one more at the very end here.
Well, I was just going to say, one, I misspoke a second ago. It's Becky Hannon, obviously not Nikki. But, you know, to your point, though, Jeff, the fact that these coaches are willing to go to these lengths to try to make the point that they're trying to make, it kind of spells it out, it feels like.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody is watching. Well, let's put it this way. The number of eyeballs watching is so much greater now. And the scrutiny, the social media reaction, just on Indiana alone, say, you know, if somebody thinks Caitlin Clark is being mistreated, you're going to hear about it day in and day out, you know, and that may not be true of all the players. You know, I know there's a disparity sometimes about, you know, do we care more about Caitlin Clark? Does the general public care more about Caitlin Clark than some of the black players? You know, that can go on both ways too. But in general, this is my observation. I think there's a lot of physicality away from the ball, and it's and especially early in games, and it's building up. They're not calling it, maybe rightly, maybe not, but it's building up. And then you're seeing these, you know, not necessarily fights, but you're seeing a lot of things happening in the second half that could have been maybe derailed or, you know, dealt with in the first half. I think that's part of what they need to do. And they need to decide, how are we going to treat this physicality that we're seeing as the skill level and the play improves? Because you don't want to parade to the free throw line either, right? I mean, then people are going to be complaining all day about that. So you got to find the sweet spot. Yeah. And I just don't think they've done it. And, you know, maybe better officials will help with that, but I think you've also got to define exactly what is it you want to see out there. I wanted to say one thing before we go too. I can't tell you how much I want Nashville to get a team.
Come on, baby.
And when the most recent expansion cities were named, you know, I was really disappointed that Nashville wasn't one of those teams. And they seem to be kind of looking now. They're kind of seem to be back in the mode of pairing teams in NBA cities instead of going to markets, you know, that are non-NBA. And I don't know. I don't know exactly what's going on behind the scenes when it comes to evaluating expansion franchises, but I just see a Las Vegas type of situation that could blossom in Nashville just the way it has with the Aces. And of course, you can also build on the Tennessee heritage and all of that. So I don't know. I know now they're pretty much they've got teams lined up through 2030 with Cleveland and who am I forgetting? Detroit and Philadelphia, I think, are the latest three. But those are being added from 28 through 30. So I don't know what's going to happen or if there's room to add other teams. That would take them up to 18. If you add the 2 next year and then those 3 that I just mentioned, that would take them up to 8, from 13 to 18, which should be the biggest the league has ever been. So anyway, that's my plug for Nashville.
Hey, if
you have Kathy Engelbert's number, feel free to call her and put that bug in her ear. Folks around here would certainly appreciate it.
Hey, Jeff, real quick, quick subject change, but while we got you, Arizona State has won 2 crazy games back-to-back weeks, 27-24. They got Utah and Texas Tech coming up. Handicap what you like out of Arizona State. They seemingly got their juice back after losing to Mississippi State earlier in the year. Yeah,
well, they're a little bit of a different team. They haven't quite got their running game going the way they would like. Scattaboo, their running star from last year, is now with the New York Giants. So they've got some quality runners, but maybe not just the sort of the big power hammer guy like Scattaboo was. They do have one of the best quarterbacks in the country in Sam Lovett, and they have maybe the best wide receiver in Jordan Tyson. So they've got that going for them. I guess my thing right now is they're playing a lot of close games and kind of relying on field goals late in games or comebacks or one thing or another, trying to squeeze out these close wins. And I think a lot of the Big 12 all the way through the rest of the season is going to be like that, because I'm not sure there's a huge difference between a lot of these Big 12 teams.
Hey, more chaos. Mo and I are all about it in that league.
Yeah. And
Absolutely.
So, but the only thing I would say on that is, if you play enough of those 3 to 7 point games, one of them is going to come back and bite you. It's just bound to happen. They lost a non-conference game at Mississippi State. Now, it turns out Mississippi State is pretty good. They lost in overtime to Tennessee, as you guys know. That's their only loss. So, they're a much improved team. But, now ASU's got that one loss, and I don't think anyone's going to go through the Big 12 undefeated, though. I think the champion is going to have at least one loss.
At least one loss. There we go. Jeff Metcalfe, formerly of the Arizona Republic, joining us here on Main Street Sports today. Jeff, really appreciate you taking some time with us this afternoon. Look forward to catching up with you again soon.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Deep in a forest at Nashville Zoo, new creatures here for you to view. Phantoms graced in black and white swing high in trees of dappled light. In rocky crags tall and steep, small antelopes with nimble feet. A wise old man with beard of white, a sentry perched on stony height. Amidst it all a hunter lies, with coat of gold and steely eyes. A new adventure just for you. Leopard Forest at Nashville Zoo. Open now.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily, as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Welcome back into Throwback Thursday here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That's David Wilson. We are joined now by Nashville Cats president and partner, Jeff Fisher. The Cats with a pretty big announcement last week that they will be playing their 2026 home games in Clarksville. And Jeff's going to kind of give us some insight into that decision. Jeff, first of all, thanks for joining us. Know we tried to do this last week, and technology is a beautiful thing when it works.
Well, it's a beautiful thing when you don't drop your phone and break it. So that was an issue for me last week. But anyways, hey guys, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. Sorry we missed last week. Yeah, we've got some, we had some exciting news, last week that we broke, and it was a real fun process. It was kind of a how should I say this? It just continued to build after we played there. Now, just for take you down memory lane, we played 2 years ago. We played one game up there, and and really enjoyed it. And then last year we finished the season up there. Little did we know at the time that we were going to be coming right back the very next weekend and playing in a playoff game up there, which we won, and then we went the championship. So things worked out, and we're delighted about the opportunity to go up there. And so it's not I mean, we're going to work out a deal. Obviously, you work out business deals and things like that, but it doesn't mean to say we wouldn't be playing a game here in Nashville and so on and so forth. I mean, we really enjoyed our experience at Municipal the first year and most of last year. And sometimes you got to make business decisions. It's a great market up there. We can partner with the base, and Austin P is there, and the community is really, really excited about us coming up. So we're looking forward to it. And from a big picture standpoint, it's great for the league. The league needs a market like Nashville, in addition to Clarksville, and it just gives the league a standard for which we want to continue as we bring in new membership.
So as you discuss all that, Jeff, the question that kind of strikes me is this temporary? Is this permanent? Are y'all the Clarksville Cats? How would you characterize that situation at this point?
Well, nothing's permanent, but we're going to have a relationship with the city of Clarksville. And so we're going to be playing games in the future there. As far as returning back to Municipal, we have no problem, or any place else for that matter. We have no problem. But is the market? They've got open arms. We're well underway with our agreements, and there may be some more information coming with respect to potential place to play a league championship game, if you will, there. So they really jumped out, and the fun part about this is F&M Bank Arena. Obviously, we all understand the relationship with the Predators, and the Preds have kind of taken us under their arm, if you will. They're great people there, and Sean Henry and the whole group. So we're kind of looking forward to partnering there as well. And it's a great venue. It's an intimate venue. We got great reviews, and so we're just kind of wait and see what happens.
Would you call this in light of F&M Bank Arena and its newness and all the bells and whistles and that kind of thing? Is this more of a facilities driven move? Is this more of a fan base driven move? Is it both of the above?
Well, yeah, it's a great couple questions. I would say from a facility standpoint, yeah, it's cutting edge. It's easy to get in and out. You got replay, you got jumbotrons, you got easy placement of the play clocks, and the conversion from the field. We got storage up there to store our field and our dasher boards, and and the nets and the goalposts and all those kind of things. So it is convenient, and we're excited about the technology. You guys are experts in the technology. You see a change, and there's the potential. I mean, obviously we have a great potential in the league, or we wouldn't be having this conversation, but the potential to stream and use different partners there, and then the gaming stuff that's ahead, and the instantaneous statistics, which is much needed in the league. So the league's rolling along, and we'd like to take advantage of F&M Bank Arena, which the Preds and and everybody has said come on with open arms. We'd like to take advantage of it and try to take advantage of the the current technology from a broadcast standpoint.
You mentioned the games that y'all played up there last year. I think your last regular season game was 5,000 plus in attendance there, and that's a number that I'm not sure what your numbers were like at Municipal, and I don't want to do or say anything to disparage Municipal, but I mean just those kind of numbers and that kind of excitement, I would think is something that you didn't see a whole lot last year.
Well, we had a successful year at Municipal, and there was carryover from the year before, and there's I don't want to minimize the tradition. And again, guys, when this thing was going on, I was so busy, I really didn't pay much attention to what was going on. And now I've gone back and looked at the studies and things like that. And the attendance at Bridgestone was up around 7,000 week after week after week for years. So there's a lot of I would say cat fans and second generation cat fans that every week I enjoyed meeting, and it's not that far away. We would expect. I mean, we'll provide, and we're already looking into party buses and things like that to come up, and and things like that. So we're not turning our back on Nashville. We just feel like the opportunity to change venues is something that we have to definitely take advantage of.
Jeff, you mentioned obviously the Predators being here in Nashville, the Titans as well. Why is it important though for arena football to have a home here in the Mid-State, and particularly in the Clarksville area?
Well, we as I started my journey a couple of years ago, I never thought I would end up in the position that I am, where I'm the commissioner of AF1. But I did it only because I enjoy helping people, and I enjoy helping teams and programs and all that. And I'm wired that way. Coaches, what we do, we help people. We help players turn weaknesses into strengths, and you help teams be successful. Well, I'm wired that way. That's how I got into it. Didn't think I'd be here, but I will tell you this: the market's outstanding up there, and from a regional standpoint, the stress that was placed on the leagues over the past 4 decades, if you will, and the stress is placed on the new leagues, the spring leagues, the USFL, the XFL, now a combination, is all travel. And so we felt like, obviously, Nashville is fairly centered. It's easy to get to. We've got teams that we've introduced that are close by. They're bus rides away, and that's optimal if you can set your divisions up that way. And so, we're working diligently to solidify our West Coast side of our league, and we've got some promising commitments right now. So if you can overcome the travel and have a competitive product, which we're going to have, I feel like we've done a great job in the officiating area, and our management team at the league level. There's a bright future ahead, and it feels real good that we can go up into a state-of-the-art arena that's intimate, because the game's an intimate game. This is all about the relationship between the guys on the field and the fans in the stand, namely the kids. And so when the kids can reach out and touch the players and take the ball home with them and take these memories home with them, it's a special event. I mean, one of the first road games I attended in the arena world was to Billings, and I have a place in Montana. I have a lot of friends up there. I've had all of my buddies come down, fishing buddies and what have you, and they're still talking about the game. I mean, they enjoyed every minute of it, and and that happened to be an exciting game. I mean, you can be down 20 points with 40 seconds left and lose the game if you're not careful. I mean, it's an exciting game, and you can see I'm pretty fired up about it, just because it's new, and I'm in that zone of being able to help people.
Jeff Fisher of the Nashville Cats joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. And Jeff, to your point, if you've not been to an arena game, you're really missing out. And when you go, you will be hooked. I mean, it is an exciting game for all of the reasons that Jeff has pointed out: the closeness, the quickness, the whole thing. It's just really, really entertaining. It's like, well, I almost said football on steroids, but I mean, it's just the fast pace of it really hooks you up.
It is. I mean, I didn't have a clue with respect to the rules either, and the rules are really outstanding. I mean, the game's a byproduct of the rules. There's no punting. It's a 50-yard field. You got to go for it on 4th down, and you take a shot at the end zone, or you can take a field goal. You can kick a field goal if you can. Those uprights aren't very far apart, but you can just change it. Just change it. It's going, and it's all about the fun and entertainment. And one of the things that I was really lucky to do last season was I was able to travel around the league. So I was in Dodge City, Kansas, and Salina, Kansas, and Everett, Washington, and Bend, Oregon, and Albany, and just an opportunity to go in there and see the relationships that between the ownership and the sponsorship and the fans and the players, and a lot of these cities, it's the only game in town, and there's community involvement, beyond imagination with respect to the players. I mean, a lot of the players stay, if they're under contract, they'll stay there year round. They got jobs in the cities they're working in, and they're involved in the community and giving back. And and again, it's there's an intimacy there, that we talked about, and it's just really fun to experience it. And we felt like, if we can model, we can be a model. Now, granted, we got a team that's going to make some noise up in northern Kentucky, the Cincinnati area, the Barrels, and under the ownership and what they got planned in store, there's some good things ahead in our league. So every market's different, but to your original question, it's important that we keep a team in this market. And we're talking to some teams down south, and we got a number of teams, and we got a team going into Michigan. We got a Minnesota team, and then the Albany team and the Kentucky team. So we're not far apart. And like I said, we're working on putting things together and dotting the I's and crossing the T's with respect to the western part of the country.
There was a lot of ambition, I guess, as Nashville came into the league a couple of years ago. And, not all the teams that you came in with are still around. Jeff, how are y'all, once you get teams in, how are you stabilizing things to keep them in?
Well, I don't want to necessarily spend too much time back in history, but the league started with problems. And that's how I got involved, because I recognized some of them, and I called some people out, and there were some things there were some commitments that were made that were never intended on keeping, and so on and so forth. So the league kind of separated itself, if you will, and the teams gathered and they bonded and they worked together and they helped each other and they supported each other. And so we finished on our own, knowing that we were going to step out of one entity and into AF1, and we did so. So this past season, we had one minor issue that we'll take responsibility for, but we got it cleaned up really quickly down in Corpus Christi. And so, but that team has since relocated to Northern Kentucky. So we're expanding. And we're doing our due diligence, and we can pretty much assure ourselves at the league level that anybody that comes in is going to be able to carry their own weight. They're going to be competitive. They're going to understand that the rules are changing. The operation of the league is changing, because we want to take this to a new place, and we feel like the timing is right with the indoor game and the flexibility, and we're having discussions with the potential international teams right now. So, everybody's going to follow the rules regardless of what market they're in. And so we surrounded ourselves with good people. You guys have done a good job with what you've done. You come out of nowhere as far as I'm concerned, and I've heard great things about what you're doing here in town. You wouldn't be able to do that unless you had great people around you. And that's why people are successful, is they surround themselves with great people, good people. And that's what we've done, and as far as AF1 is concerned.
For you personally, Jeff, in a perfect world, would you continue as commissioner? Because you're wearing a lot of hats right now. Or would you like to be able to hand that off at some point?
Well, I think it would make sense that, we've got interest here in the franchise here after what we've done the last couple of years, especially, I think what we've done over the last couple of months. So I'm gonna continue with my role here in town. or up in Clarksville, and I'm committed to doing that. I don't see any conflict in it. I do want to take this league to a place that return them to where they were and go way beyond just because of technology.
from last year, 2 years ago, you guys came into the league. You made it to the semifinals. Last year, you made it to the championship game. What has allowed you all, and you talked a lot about having good people around you and that kind of thing, but to be as competitive as you have been with everything that's been going on, how have you all been able to do that?
Well, I'm gonna give all that credit to our head coach and general manager, Darren Arbett. Darren is a handful of wins from becoming the all-time winningest coach in indoor football history. He's been doing it for decades. He's an outstanding man. He understands the game. He has great respect, and players like to play for him. And as we speak, I mean, I spoke with them. We had some league meetings late in the weekend and early in the week, and I spent significant amount of time with them. And the theme in the building was, how did you guys put this roster together already? And so the rest of the league recognizes that Coach Arbett and his staff is outstanding from that standpoint. They understand players. They know how to take care of players, and they understand the nuances. And it's a different world. Just to kind of give you guys an idea. The teams take care of the players' housing during the season and their meals during the season. And so, and I think it's important from that standpoint, because granted, these kids are playing this game because they love the game. I would say 8 out of 10 of them have aspirations to move on and are hoping they can make one play in one game that may catch a scout in the NFL's eye. And so, but there's a handful of guys on every team that just love playing this game. They go out and they can make some money, and they can get involved in the community, doors open, but they just love playing football. And it's a different type of athlete. Again, I'm still learning, but the linemen are different. The defensive linemen are different. And as compared to this game in the past, when the Cats were making their run in the decades of indoor football, those players were two-way players. It was Iron Man football. That's not the case anymore. We've got specialists in every position, because that's better for the kids. I mean, you don't want to be a pass rushing defensive end and then have to stay on the field and play guard and get pass rushed against. So and hope that maybe an NFL scout doesn't see you playing guard. So, and then, I mean, you hate to lose a game because you have a cornerback that ended up as your third receiver, and he dropped the ball because he can't catch. That's the reason he's playing defense, So, the positions are becoming specialized. There's a great deal of emphasis placed on the kicker. Imagine what the kicker can do in a game. I mean, if you kick off from the goal line, okay, it's a 50-yard field. You kick off from the goal line, you add 10 more yards to that, and you kick it through the uprights, it counts. It's points. And they take possession of the ball. It's a touchback, but you add points. You ring the scoreboard up. So there's a lot of stuff that's unique to this world. And the quarterback position, for that matter, is different. One would think, oh gosh, if we had a Lamar here, could you imagine if we get somebody who can run all over the field? It's a shorter field. and it's not that easy to run all over the field. What's required at the quarterback position is recognition and getting rid of the ball ASAP in positions where, and the receivers now, I mean, we got receivers, I think our entire receiver crew that's just under contract right now here in Nashville, they're all over 6'3". So it's big receivers and big plays down the field and high scoring and all those kind of things. So again, I'm learning fast, and I'm loving every minute of it.
Jeff, before we let you go really quickly, we would be remiss not to ask you at least one question about the Titans here in town. We saw last week where Brian Callahan calling to his quarterback coach and Bill Hardigree for rookie quarterback Cam Ward, who's obviously the #1 overall pick this past year. Kind of talked about just developing a rookie quarterback, how it's kind of important to have just continuity and a familiar voice for him as he goes through the trial and error of his first year in a tough league.
Well, I would say Brian knows what he's doing. He's going to give Cam the best chance to be successful, and apparently Brian felt that turning the play calling duties over to the quarterback coach was the right decision. So I'm never going to suggest, because we don't have the background information, I'm never going to second guess anybody as far as that's concerned, let alone an NFL head coach. So I think they're doing whatever possible to bring Cam along as quickly as possible. Now, keep in mind, he's unique. He's special from a standpoint of he's been in different systems. He's learned different systems. He's excelled in different systems, and he's got this system down. The better they are, the better job they do surrounding him with a talent level, improving the offensive line, the guys at the skill position, keep the running backs healthy, the better off they're going to be. It's not easy in this league, to start off, start the season off as a rookie at the starting quarterback position. Okay. Unfortunately, in the league, when that happens, the team didn't finish the previous year, like they did. I mean, and, when you win 2 or 3 games and you got the first pick in the draft, you have holes and you're rebuilding, and that's what they're doing. So I didn't scout Cam, but I talked to a lot of people that did, and he's going to be just fine. And there's being successful in an NFL offense against a team, like the Texans and the way they play defense, it's hard. And, I know the 0 on the board was embarrassing and it probably stimulated some changes, but I'm just going to encourage people to hang in there. People are making the right decisions for the right reasons. And, again, you can second guess all you want, but, this is a week-to-week process. It's a day-to-day process with the young quarterback.
Jeff Fisher, president and partner of the Nashville Cats, joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Jeff, appreciate you taking some time with us. Appreciate your diligence in getting back with us, and look forward to catching up with you again soon.
Guys, I'd love to be a guest anytime. Really appreciate what you guys are doing. You guys are doing a great job. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
All right. We are going to go straight into the grab bag for our final segment here on Main Street Sports today on our Throwback Thursday edition. Thursday night football. We talked about it during the rundown. Another NFC West matchup on Amazon Prime tonight, 7:15 kickoff as the San Francisco 49ers go south, taking on the LA Rams. And it's going to be kind of a mash unit for the visitors. Brock Purdy is out. Former Blackman standout, former UT standout, Jawan Jennings is out. Ricky Pearsall is out. Jordan Watkins is out. I don't know who Mac Jones is going to be throwing it to tonight. And
it don't matter because Christian McCaffrey's on my fantasy team, so just hand it off every time.
Just hand it off every play, huh?
Or just throw it to him. Either way.
Or just go single wing and snap it to him.
That's all I care about. I have both running backs tonight, so I guess the good news is I can't do any wrong because somebody's going to be hopefully leading late in the game and needing to hand the football off. If in that case, I would maybe hope for a Rams lead because San Francisco does utilize McCaffrey so much in their passing game, whereas, Stafford likes to throw it to Nakua and Devontae Adams. So should be an entertaining game, though. I would not count San Francisco out. Not at all. Even though without, Mac Jones played really well for a couple weeks while Purdy was hurt. And, Purdy turned the ball over in key situations last week against Jacksonville, and that was the reason why they lost. So it should be a good game.
Again, Mac Jones is going to be throwing it to guys that may not.
He's going to throw it to McCaffrey.
I hope they catch it because it might be their only NFL catch, unless it is McCaffrey. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting matchup, like you said. 7:15 kickoff on Amazon Prime. The Niners and the Rams each at 3-1. Saw an article. AJ Brown threw 4 games, and it's tough to complain when your team is 4-0, but receivers being who they are, AJ's got 14 catches for 151 yards and a touchdown for the Eagles again through this 4-0 start. That 151 receiving yards for AJ is 66th In other words, if you look down the list to the top 60 receivers in the National Football League, A.J. Brown would not be on it. I don't know what you do about that, though, because, again, you're 4-0.
He's definitely sent out some cryptic messages on social media too. He had a Bible.
I'm not
verse
sure
I
they're
saw
very
that
cryptic
this
at
morning.
all.
He wants the. I mean, I think he said in the media yesterday. You know, when we are struggling offensively, we're not moving the football, etc. You know, I feel like, and I mean, every wide receiver and every good player feels this way, right? I can help us move the chains. I can help us get into the end zone, and he can. Like, you know, Drew Brees said it best. Was it a couple weeks ago on ESPN? He said, you know, their offense is boring. You know, it seems like it's Saquon Barkley left, Saquon Barkley right, tush push. And, you know, Jalen Hurts can, I mean, we saw it in the Super Bowl last year. Jalen Hurts can throw the football down the field. They just don't let him at times. We saw it in the second half against the Rams. He was throwing the ball all over the yard. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith doing their thing. They have playmakers on that side of the ball. It just seems like they really lean on that offensive line. There's no problem with that. But it seems like Saquon is always getting the most of the work on that offense has some good players.
Not talked a whole lot about the Titans. It's kind of tough to talk about an 0-4 team. They do go to Arizona this weekend, the second of 3 games on the road. But some good news coming out of Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park earlier today. Former Houston Oilers receiver / returner Billy White Shoes Johnson made the cut to 50 or so individuals being considered in the seniors category for induction into the Pro Football Hall of Fame upcoming class. The seniors Blue Ribbon Committee cut that list from 162 nominees to, well, they were trying to cut it to 50, but there were ties, and so they officially cut it to 52 players. And again, Johnson is among those. 3 Pro Bowl appearances in 14 seasons with the Oilers, Falcons, and Redskins. 123 career kickoff returns for 2,941 yards and 2 touchdowns. 282 punt returns for 3,317 yards and 6 touchdowns. So 8 return touchdowns over a 14-year career. It felt like more. But he also had 25 receiving touchdowns over his career, catching 4,211 yards worth of passes, 337 catches. He was the punt returner on the NFL's 75th anniversary all-time team that was announced in 1994 and is the only member of that team not in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. 25 years later, he was also named to the 100th anniversary team as the punt returner. Member of both the 70s and the 80s NFL All-Decade teams. So, you would like to think that Billy White Shoes Johnson is headed to the Hall of Fame. And this is a step in that direction for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember covering the Texans game with Terry up in the booth a couple years ago, and Nick Westbrook-Akine did the tribute to him in the end zone on a dance. So really, really cool stuff. So hopefully that is definitely something that can happen.
It needs to. If you are looking for college football tonight, it's a thin schedule. Specifically, Sam Houston State, New Mexico State kickoff at 8 o'clock. You can see it on CBS Sports Network. That is it for Thursday night college football. Should be cranking up, though, because I know Conference USA goes to their midweek games later this week, this being one of those. But if you're a college football fan, tonight's a tough night. You might have to watch the NFL. So, David, last week I asked a question, Virginia Tech, UCLA, Oklahoma State, who's next? And you tagged Sam Pittman in Arkansas. So
you could have
who's
took
next?
it to the bank
Quickly. Yeah, should have.
Napier's
your next guy out. Okay. Florida, y'all are on watch. That's going to do it for the Throwback Thursday edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Be sure and join Wade and me tomorrow at 2 o'clock, we will have the Wonder Slate as we give you our 10 weekend winners, among other things. Again, 2 o'clock tomorrow. Me and Wade right here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Y'all have a great evening.